India. Now, there is fresh strife that has been reported in Manipur. It has continued for months together. The Manipur Chief Minister, Biren Singh, has also highlighted the historical neglect of the northeastern state by the previous union governments, particularly pointing to the 390-kilometer border with Myanmar as a critical issue. Biren Singh has also expressed concerns about the adverse consequences of the long-standing disregard for India-Myanmar border. He has cited the ethnic violence between the Meitei and the Kuki tribes as a result of this massive neglect. I'm going to start my conversation and particularly talk about how there are internal conflicts that are causing this strife in Manipur. But let's also not be naive and be innocent in thinking that these conflicts are not being fueled by non-state actors and foreign hands that are milking it till the time they decide to then act in a belligerent fashion against India. There have been several of these instances where it has been pointed out that the porous borders of Manipur have led to drug hauls that take place, that led to infiltration of terrorists, that have led to arms trade that also takes place. There has been another incident that has taken place in Assam, where there has been a drug haul of thousands of kgs of heroin being found. Now, in wake of all these developments, let's start our conversation, and joining me on the telecast is Major General G.G. Dwivedi. Major General Dwivedi, we are highly cognizant of the fact that the strife in Manipur has gone on not just for months, but for years together. Why do you think there has not been political will to resolve this situation, and also the external factors that have led to the escalation of this conflict?
Well, Megha, I think Manipur, if I would not understate, is one of the most complex states in India. And complexities are both internal and external. Internal, due to the ethnic issues, there have been complex problems and instability. And of course, as you rightly mentioned, that the porous border from Myanmar only adds to the complexities. Now, currently, we need to see the situation. When I was commanding the division, sometime in 2004, 2006, that time the Manipur instability was because of the militant groups, valley-based groups like UNLF, PLA, KVKL, PREPAK, and also there were other fringe groups like from Hamas and the Zomis, but they and Kukis, of course, they are at the low-key. Now that time, the whole issue was between the security forces and the militant groups, and my division was given the task to clear Manipur. We did. By in 2 years' time, by 2006, Manipur was largely cleared of the militants. But today, the situation is very different. And from May last year, the situation is more of the ethnic clashes, between Meiteis and Kukis. And of course, there is a history. These clashes were in '94 between Nagas and Kukis, and between Pangals and Meiteis in 1993. But it's not new. But what is new is that there were never clashes between Meitei and Kukis, and that happened in May last year, because when the High Court ruling was there that they will include even the Meiteis also in bring in new legislation where Meiteis will also have rights to buy property in the hills. Now, currently what the situation is, and I follow it very closely, keep in touch with my contacts in Manipur, that villages today are fully armed, and there are local volunteer groups who are protecting their respective communities, whether it is Kukis or Meiteis, and their buffer zones. That is point number one. Latest, the violence which took place last week towards the beginning of this year, that was in Moreh. Moreh is another very complicated place. It's a gateway to the northeast, and it has a lot of linkages with the drug cartels. And as you would know, that Manipur sits right amidst the golden drug triangle.
Right.
So there is another issue that in the Moreh per se, where it is more of the drug cartels that are operating. And then there was the Methi Pangal issue in Thobal. That was again in the 2nd January or so, where again it was not a communal issue, but it was more of a issue again with the drug lords and the drug peddlers and between the revolution, People's Front, which is the front face of the PLA, again not communal but more of the law and order drug related. So in summation, I would say the situation in Manipur remains very complex. Today the
Okay.
will
So then, you think it has been a long-standing issue. Governments have been scared of taking a stance, whether it is the state government or the central government in the past. Now, it has taken us decades to resolve the Kashmir issue, to finally have peace along the border and within the Union territory. Can there be a cohesive effort that can be taken forth to ensure that the state government and the central government are on the same page, and even have the gumption to call out these terrorists, call out the separatists, call out this foreign intrusion into Manipur, who bring in drugs, who bring in terrorists, who bring in arms and ammunition?
Well, Megha, as I said, that the issue is twofold. One is internal. Current issue today, I think, is we need to place national interest over the political interest.
Yes.
I would be very candid to state that to save this state government, we are compromising national interest, and that's where we need to have very clear priority that when national security is concerned, the political issues must be played down. That has not happened. Secondly, is the open border with Myanmar. Well, the issue is here these terrorists and the underground, they have a lot of give and take across the border, and this can be only handled when we handle with the Myanmar government. They also play it up, and in my time we had carried out certain operations where we had the cooperation of Myanmar army, and especially in the Samtal area. Now, same thing needs to be done, but there you need the cooperation of the Myanmar forces,
Okay.
because you
Okay.
can't trespass the borders. But
Fair enough.
my last point is
Quickly.
national security must be prime and other things must be secondary.
Okay, all right. Major Muhammad Ali Shah, since you have served a considerable amount of your time as a major in the army in the Northeast and particularly Manipur, my question is more strategic. In the larger view of the strategic interests of our country, and how there are territories which are bordering India or are in the subcontinent that are being salami sliced by the Chinese to set up ports, to set up military bases. And Myanmar is amongst many of these countries that have been taken control of by the Chinese. Now we understand the Chinese threat that has been imposed in the line of actual control in Ladakh. When we take a look at Maldives and also a look at Myanmar, where the Coco Islands have been inhabited by the Chinese to set up their military base. When we take a look at on the western frontier, where there is the Gadar port as part of the CPEC project that has been built, that is under construction to be built as a military base of China targeting India. In a situation as tense and sensitive as this, how do we ensure that the defense forces are given enough power and decision authority to take the right actions that need to be taken to safeguard our borders?
Megha, that's a very good question. I had the honor to serve as the ADC to the corps commander there. Thereafter, I went on deputation to the Assam Rifles, and I had the honor to serve with General Govind Dwivedi, a very, very illustrious general officer who served with distinction over there under his command. A lot of good results were reached, in fact, Megha. Now, as General Dwivedi rightly said, Moreh is actually a very strategic place. It's the commercial hub in a way, and it's bordering Myanmar. That's Tamu on the other side. So the very fact, and the violence has gone on for quite some time. And just today, incidentally, the Director General of Assam Rifles, Lieutenant General P.C. Nair, he personally went there to Moreh, took a stock of the situation, and he was briefed by the sector commander over there, again a very, very illustrious officer, Brigadier V.P. Yadav, who told him about the happenings on ground in Moreh. And of course, in that meeting, of course, they were the people from and he vouched for the fact that the Assam Rifles will continue with the Sobrika, that's the Friends of the Hill people completely. So the meeting over there was the Cookie Students Organization were there, the Cookie Women's Union was there, the Human Rights of Moreh community was there, the Cookie NP was there, of Technopal, the Tamil Sangam was there, the Gorkha Samiti was there, the Manipur Muslim Council was there, and so there were Nagas, Cookies, there were a whole lot of there are a lot of Tamilians also in Moreh, incidentally. The Pangals are the Manipuri Muslims. They were there. The Gorkhas were there, and the Sikh community, of course. Now, Moreh is a place where dominantly the Cookie tribe lives there, but it's a mix, you can call it, because Technopal, which is very, very close to Moreh, strategically, it is again a mix. Technopal and Moreh, predominantly Cookies, but they are Nagas, they are Meiteis, they are a whole lot of South Indians. If you go to Moreh, you will be surprised to see a South Indian restaurant over there, written over there in South Indian language, in Tamilian language. And how and when the Tamilians went there, there's a long history behind it, which we'll discuss some other time. But now we have to understand strategically, even Manipur, they are regions which are community-based, tribal-based or community-based. Like, for example, in Shashanpur, which the Cookies call it popularly for them, it is called Lamka, right? So, like Thorbung, Parbung would come under Shashanpur side. There, it is dominated by Cookies. Moreh is dominated by Cookies, as I mentioned, but they are Meiteis there as well. Imphal or Kakshin, Thobel is primarily a Meitei belt. Like, then they are like Ukhrul. Those are the Tangkul belt, the Naga, the Naga warriors of Manipur. So now, they are all subdivided and they are buffer zones. Now, when there has been firing recently between the militants in Moreh and the Manipur police, see, they are Assam Rifles and there is Army, which is doing a very fine job, which are there, which is doing a very, very impartial job, a selfless service. And I am sorry to say, it's a very thankless job that the forces over there have to do, who are staying away from their families in non-peace locations, in non-family locations over there. So the very fact is, see, Mega, the two communities have to sit down and talk. Dialogue is the way forward. But where the poison has spread so much, in the sense that, there's sort of hatred between the two communities right now, it is very, very important. People are concerned all over. Post-midnight, I was doing an interview post-midnight, last couple of days, with people from Manipur. In fact, we've been discussing how to bring about peace in that land, a beautiful land. Now, I'll quickly conclude by saying, Moreh Township, in fact, that lied in the Indo-Myanmar border, in fact, and I just sometime before I was in Tao, I spoke to the PRO, the PRO who handles the media from DG Assam Rifles, and he sent me a nice long note about the detailed noting about the situation in Moreh at the moment. And I would like to comment once again. I'd like to conclude by commending the Director General of Assam Rifles, particularly Lieutenant General P.C. Nair, for actually doing a very, very commendable and leading in the right way, in the right direction, with the people. He is winning the heart and mind of the people over there. And so a lot of goodwill is being generated when he reaches out to people, the CSO, the
Fair enough. Yes, you give us the details, the specifics of what is happening in which district, particularly the border areas, the Moreh area, and that's important information that needs to be consumed and acknowledged and recognized as well. And that's why I talk about how this internal strife needs to be resolved, and there has to be political will. Maybe we were seeing a lack of it in the previous governments, but does the current government, state and centre, have the gumption to call spade a spade, to realize that this is a problem which will not be resolved until and unless the outside bodies, the outside countries who are trying to create strife in Manipur are not stopped, because their larger agenda is not just causing internal strife in Manipur. Their larger agenda is to hurt India where it hurts the most, to attack India where it hurts the most. So when you have a porous border along Myanmar, it is in strategic interest of the Chinese to hurt India on that border, to weaken India by allowing for more deployment of our armed forces. And like I mentioned, the problems that continue to arise that have led to the drugs haul that are found on several occasions in Manipur and neighboring states of Assam and Mizoram and other places, and like I said, terrorism, and like I said, how arms and ammunition, but also the fact that there are certain political leaders and political parties who are taking advantage of the situation, and they might not be interested in recognizing or acknowledging the fact that this is on the larger scale going to hamper India's security and sovereignty, but they still go about doing this because this is a means to an end. This, they think, is going to garner them more votes. And one case in point being the Manipur rally, the Bharat Nyay, Bharat Jodo Yatra that Rahul Gandhi is going to be commencing just a few days from now. And it starts from Manipur. It is going to end in Mumbai. So Himanshu, but are certain political elements in our country also trying to milk the problem that emanates out of Manipur for their vested interests, but then the larger good of the country is put on stake?
Yes, larger good of the country is put on stake. I would certainly say so. See, all this started, our armed forces people will agree with me that before this problem started last year, it came to big highlight. Bharat Sarkar had destroyed 14,271 acres of poppy fields. And after a month of that, this whole thing started. Second thing, everybody has been talking about porous borders. But have we really fenced it till now? It's going to take years. It should be done immediately and it should be stopped there. The reason for that is Bharat Sarkar has come up with something where they say, foreign cookies. They are using some term, food cookies or something, foreign nationals, so external forces. They should be thrown out first. First, close the border and throw them out. It's only then some sort of a rapprochement will come down. Because what's been happening is the scheduled ST status is given a reason. But then the political fighting takes place by both the parties. Because here you have majority of the Meitei population following one religion, Kukis following another religion. And then this sort of problems come up. The rapprochement will come up only when the miscreants among them are first thrown out, who have come from outside. And army is not given the free hand there. See, that's another thing. In last year or two, army needs to be given that power to deal with them. You have to deal with the drug.
We have also seen in the past how AFSA has raised a number of concerns, large-scale protests in the northeastern states, including in Manipur. There have been, in fact, recently, a few months ago, last year, there was a particular incident that had happened that led to the death of several people, locals in Manipur, by the armed forces. So again, that big question arises. So how do we ensure and assure the people of Manipur that the armed forces are for them, they are working for them, they are serving them, not the other way around, where people at this point of time even go about assuming that it is the opposite that is being done, that the armed forces are working at the behest of a particular government who is not looking to support their cause. And I bring a parallel over here, Major General Dwivedi, about the Kashmir situation, because Kashmir had continued to face this for a long period of time, and finally things have changed. there is an upturn in the situation where there can be a semblance of peace that can be witnessed in the valley?
Well, Megha, first and foremost, I don't think we can draw parallel between Kashmir and Manipur because they are two entirely different ball games. In Kashmir, it's the Pakistan, which is the main key player, and they have been fomenting the proxy war as part of the national policy. Now, that is one issue, of course. After the abrogation of Article 370, and I commanded my brigade in Baramulla sector, and I visited Kashmir just about 2 months back. There have been a sea change, and the Kashmir definitely, the valley per se, is I think a lot of stability, prosperity, and normalcy has come in. But having said that, I think Manipur need to be seen through a different lens because in Manipur, the problem is more internal. Of course, Chinese shadow is always there because China has exploited this situation. They were directly supporting these UNLF, PLA groups. But over a period of time, that had gone down. And when I was there commanding the division, as I said, the main problem was the local valley militants. And when Prime Minister Manmohan Singh came, and he was aghast that there were liberated zones in area like Chura Chandpur, Samtal, and Chandel. But the issue today, I would like to again come back to issue today. Manipur, largely the militancy had gone down. But after this May 3, issue again ramped up, and today Manipur has a deep divide between the two communities, Meithis and the Kukis. And this problem is political. Armed forces can only bring in certain amount of normalcy, but it has to be sorted out through the political means. Like when I was commanding the division, that time we had a mandate to clear the militants and clear the valley from the complete insurgency. But today, they have created buffer zones, and what armed forces are doing, whether it is army or the, Assam rifles, they are only trying to ensure that these buffer zones, the sanctity is maintained. But the basic issue is that villages are armed and armed to the teeth. Until they are disarmed, there can be no hopeful peace in this region.
Okay.
Second issue, of course.
Okay. Also, Ranjit Dwivedi, the point that, there have been several attempts that have been made by the central government and state governments to allow for biometric survey to be done of the illegal immigrants. But question marks are raised about their ethnicity, about their links to the tribes. We spoke about the porous border. How can we find a solution to this? How do we assure that the people are then brought to they are given the confidence, and then these procedures are taken forth?
Well, the border is almost 1,640 kilometers between India and Myanmar, and it's very difficult to fence the border because terrain is very difficult. Secondly, these they have the cross-border relations. The Kukis have relations in Myanmar and vice versa. And these relations are old age. I mean, they have been historical relations. Again, you can't do very much on that. But at the same time, I think 2-3 issues can be sorted out. Yes, selectively border can be fenced. We can strengthen more forces because today only 40 battalions are there manning the 1,640 kilometer border. That can be done. Certain amount of biometrics can be done. But more importantly, I think we need to sort out the political issue, because until we sort out the political problem, the military and the security forces can only do very little.
Okay.
And my last point is on China, because China shadow is very, very, I think, serious. Because I have been to Myanmar, it is almost Sinicization of Myanmar. North of Mandalay, you find it almost looks like semi-Chinese. Now that part is very, very sensitive, and we need to ensure that Chinese don't play a larger game in this, because it is in their interest that our defense forces, security forces get involved in the internal dimension of Manipur and Northeast, so that we are forced to somehow refocus on internal than the external dimension.
Yeah. Major Mohammad Ali Shah, reference to China and how it has been manipulating Myanmar to infest terrorism and infiltration of drugs trade and arms trade is also reflective of a few incidents that have taken place in the past, where there are illegal migrants with Chinese descent who have been caught. There have been instances where Chinese spies that have been caught in Manipur and other parts of the northeastern region of the country. So why is it that the government still continue to be hesitant to find a solution? I mean, it cannot be just assumed and we can just lie low and say there is no solution that can be found, because it's impossible to come to that decision, come to that acknowledgement. Why is it that there is no political will?
Right, Megha. Megha, that's a very good question. And thank you so much for asking this. And thank you very much, in fact, even more for covering this, for speaking about Manipur. And Manipur deserves a voice because the most beautiful, the most principled, the most cultured, the most well-mannered, disciplined, hardworking people are from Manipur. And they have contributed a great deal in our nation building. And we cannot ignore them at any cost. Now, because people, unfortunately, their understanding about the northeast part of India, unfortunately, very limited. They don't know anything beyond Assam. Unfortunately, a lot of people argue with me that, Manipur is in Guwahati or in Assam. How can a state be in a city? I don't understand that. So there are some very, very ridiculous people. Now, the very fact is what you asked me, yes, that angle has to be explored. It cannot be ruled out completely that most certainly China has been promoting anything anti-India. Now, you asked a very interesting question to General Dwivedi, which he very rightly answered. I remember as the ADC to the corps commander, when I landed with the corps commander on the helipad, and General Dwivedi was there. First question that the corps commander had asked General Dwivedi was, since he had commanded a brigade in Baramulla and J&K, and now he was commanding a division in Manipur, what do you find the difference in the militancy, in the insurgency in Jammu Kashmir and in Manipur? And very aptly, what was brought out by him that in Manipur, it is not suicide bombing. Like in J&K, it is more like suicide bombers. And those are terrorists in Jammu Kashmir. Here they are insurgents. Here they are militants. And then here in Manipur or in the northeast part of India, they were insurgents who had principles, who would never attack women and children. Colonel Biplab Tripaঠি's assassination just about a year and a half back or so, with his family was very, very unfortunate. It was a shocker for me, in fact, because I believe that PLA, which told the People's Liberation Army, not of China, but of Manipur, the insurgent group, which took responsibility of it later on, apparently they gave a statement that they weren't aware that the family was traveling with him, and they requested the families should not be present in those stations. That's a different thing. But now the very fact is, these people would never attack the ambulance or school buses. They had their principles. There was a case, about this case where I myself was in the trap of the insurgent with 5 soldiers, but we got our way along because I could speak the local dialect and fluently, and we found a way out. That's a different thing. Similar thing would not have happened in Jammu Kashmir. Jammu Kashmir got total influence of Pakistan, as General Dwivedi rightly said. So now the very fact that when there is a China angle, it has to be, why can't we? Because people do not take interest, unfortunately. When you spoke about the porous border, I was interviewing a very, very senior officer, a veteran of the Northeast. He laughed at me. He said, porous border, what are you talking about? There's hardly any border. There's no border at all. Megha, interestingly, people will be surprised to hear what the senior officer told me. He told me that they were houses which had their bedroom in India and kitchen in Myanmar.
Fair enough. Yes, absolutely. So then you think the current circumstances, the way junta has been ruling Myanmar in an autocratic rule, is also then forcing India to look into the border situation in Myanmar? And is this then going to force the Indian government to acknowledge that this is a problem, finally acknowledge that in Manipur there cannot be ignorance, there cannot be sidelining of the issue, the solution, because it hurts the sovereignty of the country? And it's unfortunate that it is because such a big issue, which is the issue of terrorism and the sovereignty of the country that is at stake, that the governments of the day have to then, and the politicians of the day have utilized this as a tool to pay attention to Manipur.
Megha, you are absolutely right. I will just quickly conclude in a few. I know you are running short of time. I would just say, see, on 7th January, I'll just draw a small little parallel. There were elections, there was voting in Bangladesh. and there were a lot of illegal immigrants from Bangladesh who would enter India. But now those illegal immigrants has also reduced. And if Sheikh Hasina, I mean, in her time, of course, why? Because the economy of Bangladesh was only gradually, slowly growing up. Now, similarly, in Myanmar, the military junta, yes, you rightly said, because of the coup, because of the military junta, a lot of people were under threat in Myanmar. They tried to cross over, and the crossing over border, the rules are very simple. I mean, there's a law. I would not say a law. I would say there is an agreement rather between the two nations that they can come inside 16 kilometers deep inside a Myanmar. A person from Myanmar can come 16 kilometers deep into India, and a person from Indian side can go 16 kilometers deep inside only with a written permission from the Gaon Buddha. Gaon Buddha is who? The village sarpanch, the village headman. That's about it. So it's a very, very simple thing, and they have religious, they have their own community, they have people married, they have the relatives, they have friends across. So that, of course, is there. Now, illegal immigrants from Bangladesh, point to be noted, they have reduced, right? Similarly, when there is a problem, like, okay, I'll give you another example for everyone to understand, a simple thing. From India, if we get a good job abroad, we guys go abroad. We migrate to the Gulf or US or somewhere. Similarly, people look out for greener pastures. Now, if this can be stopped, like General Dwivedi said, and like how other panelists also rightly said, if the fencing can be strengthened further, I'm sure, Megha, I'm certain that this problem would not be of this reality as it is now.
Okay, all right. Again, a situation, a catch 2020, when we talk about having no borders whatsoever, when there are families, friends, relatives, even houses, your jobs, your businesses on both sides of the border. How is it that you are going to allow for fencing and a strong barricade to be set up? And how is that going to dissuade people from traveling to the other side of the border to carry on with their day's business? I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast, and there's another attempt to find a solution to this long drawn conflict in the northeast, in Manipur. Have we gotten the collective political will to fight it? And if so, can the results be witnessed in the coming months?
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.